Good morning and welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is You Are the Cosmos. And when we think about it, we literally, with every breath, breathe in molecules from the stars, from the mountains, from every living being that exists currently and that has existed before us. And I thought it would be fun to explore what it might feel like to experience ourselves as these cosmic beings through the lens of the connection through all time and space. So it should be a fun conversation today. And Rosalind, good morning. Welcome, welcome. Great to have you here with us this morning and great to be with all of you who are joining us. Before we get started, let's take a minute or two to get present. So let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells and your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale, exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant, bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells, all your molecules, and your electrons, lighting you up from the inside out with a brilliant beam of light going from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale, exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's press our palms together and vigorously rub those palms together. Feel the friction and the temperature and all that sensation. And when you stop rubbing them together and separate your palms, feel the energy. Feel the tickling and the tingling and allow all those sensations to bring you present right here, right now. Welcome, welcome. So you are the cosmos, literally. What of it? How about that? I mean, we often get very looped into the smallness of our lives. And I did a meditation with my core connection people yesterday, the core connection cohort, and it was on this topic, in fact, because we've talked a bunch about one of my key hypotheses for living, and I didn't originate it, but I do claim it, which is life is happening for me and through me rather than to me. And so this is talking about life as its own intelligence, life as its own energy of manifestation. And as we evolve more and more and release more and more of the traumas and prejudices and preconceptions and beliefs, as we release more and more of that and connect more and more deeply to our inner soul song, then we become a clearer and clearer vehicle for that intelligence of life to move through us in the unique expression that we are in our unique instrument with our unique gifts that we came here to express. And so when we recognize that we really truly are of the cosmos, we are stardust, we are we are every tree, every mountain, every rock, every animal, every living and non-living thing that has ever existed on the planet. It's part of us, and we breathe it in and we breathe it out regularly. And what if, in presencing ourselves to that breath, what if we were able to presence ourselves to our unbounded nature, to the connection that we truly are, that we, of which we are comprised, you know, that we are the universe made manifest in a unique form. And we are the vehicle for life expressing itself. What's different? How does that shift our awareness of ourselves in the context of this much grander, interwoven universe? Just wondering how you might experience yourselves differently from that vantage point, how your perspective might shift, how your priorities might shift, how the things that seem so very important might readjust themselves in their relevance. You know, it's an interesting perspective that when we imagine ourselves as a vehicle for the expression of life, and that we recognize the truly undeniable interconnectedness of everything. Good morning, Kimberly. Kimberly says, I'm home. I shifted. Welcome home. My, oh my. So what an adventure you've been on, Kimberly. So good to have you back. And how beautiful to have you back here today for being part of the universe. And Nicole, welcome. I don't know if I've seen you here before. Great to have you joining us. Nicole says, when one brings in the energy fields of the heart, third eye, and gut, knowing the auric field widens and allows for the energy to manifest the reality we want to see. It is a sacred triad. Beautiful, Nicole. Thank you for that. And Kim, I'm going to come back to that in a minute. Kimberly says, I missed you all. We missed you, Kimberly. And Rosalind says, is thought a characteristic of welcome being a human? I'm not sure how to interpret that at the moment. I'm sorry. Is thought a characteristic of being a human? I think is probably what you meant to say. I'm not sure. I think that thought is characteristic of sentience. I guess it depends on what we call thought. But I want to go back to the sacred triad that Nicole mentioned of the heart, the third eye, and gut. And in this process that we did yesterday to connect ourselves to, or to clear ourselves as a channel, a vehicle of life, what we did was we went through each of the energy centers of the body, the primary energy centers, the chakra centers, and infused them with this universal energy and created this tree of life that was moving from earth into the through the soil into the trunk of the tree that was then moving into the air, and then into the tree as it grew, and into its branches reaching out, and then into all of its leaves, and out into the top of the tree as it reached into the heavens. And then, but through the clearing of all those energy centers, then it became a clearer vehicle for life to move through, and then experience our deep, deep connection with everything. And then when that connection was present, to open our eyes into the experience of viewing the world through the eyes of the infinite. So welcome, welcome, Bernadette. So good to have you here with us this morning. Welcome. And we're celebrating that Kimberly is back. And it sounds like you're in good shape, Kimberly. I'm so hoping that that's the case for you, and that you just continue to open and expand and become more of your essential self. So wonderful, wonderful. So I'm wondering for you guys, what's different if you look at being, if you look at your existence as an expression of the cosmos. Kimberly says, absolutely full of peace. Oh my gosh, Kimberly, that is so wonderful to hear. What a gift. What a gift. Congratulations. Really. Nicole says, beautiful. That meditation also allows the sacred trees to take root and grow again. They are our plateaus that were cut down a long time ago. I love that, metaphorically and truthfully, like materially, Nicole, on all those levels. Yes, we can see ourselves as the tree of life, and that expression of life itself. And when we look at the sacred trees, I've been experiencing the work of Suzanne Simard, sorry, who is a I guess, well, she's a forestry biologist, but she has done all kinds of experiments to prove that, to discover and to prove that the trees and the mycelial network in a forest and all the plants are communicating with each other, that they have this wonderful network of interrelationship and communication, and they share nutrients and they share information. And it came to my awareness that there are trees that are actually 2,000 years old. It's inconceivable to me. And these trees, just imagine a tree with that amount of experience, a living creature that has that amount of life, that amount of experience of the transformation of the planet. And then when we recognize that the air that we breathe has molecules from everything that ever has been, anywhere, everywhere, that we are that tree, that we are one another, that we are the stars, that we are the mountains, that we are all of it, and that we are inextricably connected. To me, it was really an interesting experience, actually, because when I do these meditations, I don't get to close my eyes and be deeply immersed in that space in the same way as if I were a participant. However, at the end of that meditation, my body was buzzing. My hands were alive with energy, and my vision was shifted. The colors were brighter. The clarity of my vision was richer. And so much of what our perception and cognition is about limiting our perception rather than expanding it. So there's a wonderful book by Aldous Huxley called The Doors of Perception. And it's about his experiments with mescaline. And what he talks about is how the mind works as a funneling mechanism that's actually sorting out information so that we can focus on doing things like making sure that we can that we eat and that we sleep and that we are functional kind of in the world, being able to have shelter and whatever. But that what's happening is that with substances like mescaline or psilocybin or lysergic acid or peyote or any number of other substances, that what happens is that filter, that funnel that is filtering out information opens up, and we're able then to receive more information. And so when we receive more information, our perception changes. And there's an awe and wonder that can accompany that in experiencing the aliveness of everything that's around us. And when we allow ourselves to connect to the global, or beyond global, the universal unity of these kinds of perspectives and experiences, then that filter, I believe, is expanded. So Bernadette says, I'd be curious to see the rings of those trees to compare what torture as humans have placed our trees in a poor state of weakness via pollution, pesticides, lack of water and nutrients, etc. Yeah, it would. So Suzanne Simard has actually taken core samples or boring samples of these trees to be able to see the rings, to see what happens. And it's really interesting because trees have been seen to have nutrients, for instance, from salmon, where the trees are near a river and the bears go and have had salmon and then brought salmon to the tree to eat, and the trees have absorbed the nutrients from the salmon. So you could, by looking at the rings of the trees, you can actually determine what the health of the or the runs of the salmon might have been from one year to the next. That there's such rich information within the rings of the trees, not just pollution and pesticides and such. So there's such a richness. I really, really recommend her book called Finding the Mother Tree, because there are trees that are mother trees that are sending nutrients out they recognize their own progeny, they recognize their own children, and send even more nutrients to their own, but there are nutrients that are shared with even other species, not just trees, but other plants as well. There's this whole elaborate network of nutrient sharing that also engages the mycelium mushrooms, and they are transporting nutrients as well. So Bernadette says, tree rings speak volumes of what to do and not to do to protect what gifts they feed us. It's true. It's true. We have so much available to us to learn from nature. I think when we recognize our deep interconnectedness, when we recognize that what I do to you and what I do to nature, I do to myself, when we can presence ourselves to the truth of that, then our actions may shift, our actions may change. And so we showed an interview with Suzanne Simard on movie night last week, and it was really interesting because it brought us to a conversation about toilet paper and paper towels. And when you think that these magnificent beings are being cut down so that we can wipe our bottoms or dry our counters, it prompted a lot of people to rethink behaviors that might have otherwise been sort of out of the range of conscious awareness, Like I've seen people, when they use toilet paper, just wrap it round and round around their hand. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, we do have options such as bamboo toilet paper, and bamboo paper towels. When bamboo grows a lot more quickly and is not, I believe it also helps to restore the soil. So like just these little things of the ways that we use the gifts of the planet as disposable resources. The tree is so much more valuable to us alive, because it's producing oxygen, it's supporting ecosystems. They've seen how cutting down trees changes whole ecosystems. Bernadette says, or clothes. Yeah. Interesting with some materials are made from wood. And the way that it just goes back to a conversation of our throwaway mentality, that it's okay to be just cutting stuff down. Well, paper too, we don't have to have paper from trees. There's so many other materials we can make paper from. We can be recycling clothing to make paper. That would be a cool thing, because so much of our clothing ends up in landfill because we don't have structures in place to just reuse it, reconstitute it. I think that would be a really powerful thing to be able to do, is to, well, a lot of our clothing is actually made from petroleum products too, so that creates a whole other issue. But anyway, we are the cosmos. Oh, thank you, Bernadette says, okay, so no, sorry, cloth as opposed to paper towels. Exactly, that's what I use. In fact, this is really important. You know, just switching to bamboo is facilitating our throwaway lifestyle, right? So Bernadette, thank you for making that point, that use cloth instead of paper, and it can be washed. You know, we can use it over and over and over, and then we're not throwing stuff away as much. You know, because there is no way to throw stuff to. That's the thing. There is no such thing as a way. And there is no such thing as trash. You know, that's a human concept. All these things, you know, nature has no trash. And so what we get to do is to figure out how to reincorporate all the stuff that we have generated, that we have thrown away, and figure out how to be able to utilize it and recycle it in a healthful way. Anyway, that's it for this morning. We are the cosmos. And I invite you to experiment with what it feels like to see the world through the eyes of the universe, through the eyes of life living itself through you. And with that, I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection. And I go live here each weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page and YouTube channel. And I encourage you to check out the other marvelous programming on Enlightened World Network, on the Enlightened World Living and EWN One with the Earth. And Bernadette says, we live in the house of Norwex products, all environmentally friendly and omitting chemicals we use in our house. So that's a great resource for us to check out, Bernadette. Thank you, thank you. And Dido, it looks like maybe Dido and Sue might be here today. Thank you guys so much for being here, and so much love to you for everything you do to make all this wonderfulness happen in Enlightened World Network. You are so deeply appreciated. And that's it for today. So until next time, lots and lots and lots of love to you. All the best.